All right, our first guest is a comedy icon, having appeared on television shows such as Roseanne, The Golden Girls, Fernwood Tonight, and he is best known for his work in movies like Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, and Anchorman. Please welcome to the stage, Fred Willard.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fred Willard! Well, thanks for having me, Steve, and a lot of excitement in this room.
Yeah.
Big, a lot of energy, and I hope I don't detract from it. I'll try to add to it.
Yes. Well, you were telling us before the show, you performed in this room before.
Oh, many times, yes.
When was that? When did you start here?
This was in the late 60s, I think. Well, I don't want to go into history, but I've been a friend of Bud Friedman, the original owner here, and I've been here and seen a lot of shows and done a lot of shows. Wow. And this tops them all. Thank you for asking. I haven't been this excited since Henny Youngman and Debbie Boone got up and sang, "You light up my wife, please." That's an old reference there. Debbie Boone, Pat Boone. Since Rodney Dangerfield actually got respect. But enough with the jokes. Enough with the comedy.
Let's get serious, for God's sake. Early career. Let's start. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up?
Shaker Heights, Ohio, which was a suburb of Cleveland. Born and raised, and there's a lot of celebrities who are from Cleveland that I never knew when I was in Cleveland. It's only since I've been out here I met a lot of them. Bob Hope. I learned when I was in grade school that Bob Hope was not born in. He was born in London, England, but he was raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Went to school there.
Wow. Did you do? Were you acting when you were a kid? Were you doing acting and things like that?
No, I always wanted to be. I don't know what I wanted to be. A baseball player, I think. I wasn't never quite sure what I wanted to be.
Did you have family that was in the arts at all, or how did you get into the arts? How did this happen for you?
It's a good question. I know. I went to New York and I said maybe I'll be a disc jockey. I thought that would be fun. Then I said, no, maybe I'll be an actor. That'll be easy. So then I just got into it, and I got some jobs, and one thing led to the other. And
yeah. Mm-hmm. We were looking at early points of your career. Last night, Matt and I were watching. We were holding hands and cuddling, and we were under a blanket, and we were watching Get Smart. We were watching you on Get Smart.
Get Smart, yeah, that's one of the first.
Unbelievable.
If the people remember that, my partner and I teamed up with another guy. We had a duo, which is why we played here at the Improvisation. The act was called Greco and Willard, and we had a sketch about a bumbling detective who thwarted a robbery, and they used that on Get Smart, and we played. As they took our sketch and turned it into an episode.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible.
And then I remember we came into our agent's office, and my partner said they want us to do our own series, and I said, well, that's great. He said, but our agent said, no, you're not going to go out and get those guys for $800. You're going to pay them what. So our agent stepped in and stopped that.
Aren't they the best?
Yeah.
Agents, they sure are.
You're not going to take advantage of my young comics.
Well, he got 10% of that, of the nothing that he got you.
Mike used to have a really bad agent. What did that agent ask you for that one? I remember, is a funny thing.
I don't know.
The agent that kept asking you for 10% of garbage, of just nothing.
Yeah, I'd do a $5 a thing where a friend paid me in like buffalo wings to come to his show, and he'd be like, I get some of those, right? Technically, yeah, you do.
Was that
in celery cheese? What do you know?
Yeah, now
that was in addition to the 50-cent commission.
Yeah, exactly.
So you did eventually get a series with Martin Mull in Fernwood Tonight.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Fernwood Tonight. So amazing. Such a great show.
That's something that I almost turned down because they called me about it, and I said, they said it's a kind of takeoff on the Tonight Show. It'd be like an Ed McMahon, and I said, oh boy, I started to name people that would be better at that than me. And then they said, well, just come in and sit in on a rehearsal. We're going to do a rehearsal for about a week. And I knew Martin Mull. I didn't really know him. I'd seen him perform at the Troubadour. And I said, boy, this guy is unique. He has a very unique comic. So I was his co-host, and I never laughed so hard as I did in that week of rehearsals. And at the end of the week, I went up to Norman Lear. I said, I think I'd like to be on this show. So they said, oh, okay, that's great. So
That's awesome.
we did 1 year as Fernwood Tonight, and the next season, all of Norman Lear's celebrity friends loved the show. So they kept it on for a second year. They said, how do we get these celebrities to be in a show that's done in Fernwood, Ohio? So they called it America Tonight.
Right.
And put it in some little city in Los Angeles. I think El Tacoma, the unfinished furniture capital of the world. Or the stool capital. Or am I getting that confused with Waiting for Guffman? I may have been.
The stool boom.
The stool capital.
So how much of that show was off the cuff improvisation? And how
Well,
much
at
was
first it was, the only one who had cue cards was Martin Mull. They had big cards, and we did come out and just do the show once. It was almost like being in school when you had to cram for an exam. You knew it, then if it was, when the bit was over, if they wanted to go back and reshoot, you couldn't remember anything. But I'd watch his cue cards and I'd know my cue to come in. But then after about 10 or 15 shows, I would say, well, what if I say this? Or what if then I realized, why don't I just say it? Because we tape about 40 minutes and they cut it down to 20 or 25, whatever it is. So it became more and more improvisational. Now I forget what guests came on where we'd follow the script. Some of them were so nervous, and they'd say, we're just going to go through it once? And we'd do it, and some would stay close to the script, and others, we would just improvise with it, and it just lent itself to that.
Who were some of your favorite guests on that?
Oh, William W.D. Bud Price. That was, I forgot. I'm going to be bad on names here.
Kenny Mars.
Who?
Kenny Mars.
Kenny
Kenny
Mars.
Mars.
Kenny Mars.
Kenny Mars. He would come on, Kenny Mars. He would come on with his whole thing that he wrote himself. And the writers would come on and say, let's just go with Kenny's stuff. Well, let's forget ours. We'll save that for another week. So he was one of my favorites. And another one who played the rabbi, he'd come on and he'd say, Shalom and Bucha. He'd say that every week, Shalom and Bucha. And finally I said, what does that mean? He says, absolutely nothing.
There was a show that
You're a clip of Tom Waits.
That's Tom Waits. That's
Tom
what
Waits.
bits
Same
people
piano was
remember
drink.
most. I'd rather have the bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy. Nothing like a good catchphrase.
There was a show Matt drew my attention to called DC Follies, which you were the star of. That must have been a really fun show to work
It was
on.
amazing. Yeah, I think it was done about 1989 or 1990. And we'd wait every week. The people who made the puppets would bring in 3 new ones. We couldn't wait to see who they were. And they just showed Mike Tyson. The producers, we would rehearse on a Tuesday and do the show on a Wednesday, and they'd always forget to get a guest star. But if they could get, I'd say, who's the guest star? Oh, God, we didn't get anyone. Someone's shooting down the street, go down. But one week, Mike Tyson was the guest. I'll never forget, he was walking down the street, and I was walking back to the stage. He was walking with his manager, and he looked at me, he says, hi, Fred. I said, he's watched this show and he thinks I'm really Fred Willard, which I was, but not. But he was such a sweet guy, but he had a look in his eyes. You know, you didn't want to say the wrong thing. And I think the sketch was that he was boxing George Bush or something. But that was one of the high points. But they got great guests. We'd get Steve Allen, Mike Tyson, Freddy Krueger from Friday the
Robert
13th.
England,
Yeah. When they think to get a guest, they get great guests. But it's a show that should still be on. It was they made fun of the politicians and celebrities, and for some reason it ran 2 years, and then the Crofts just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, well, Sid and Marty, fascinating. They must have been fascinating people to work with, too.
Yeah, well, yeah, they were.
They use those the puppets in that Talking Heads music video, right?
Oh,
The Talking Heads, yeah.
I believe so. I believe
Same
they-
puppets.
I'm not
Just
sure
a
if
little
they-
tidbit.
I don't know if the Cosby one was in there, but I think the rest of them were. I'm pretty sure he was busy.
Was that Bill Cosby?
Yeah, in the very beginning.
We had 3 people doing voices, 2 two guys and a woman. They'd walk all around all week with their earphones in because they were listening. Some of these obscure politicians, they just get the right inflection. They were just wonderful. They're just amazing. They would do it all in one afternoon.
Amazing. Oh my God. All right. Well, I know we would be remiss without talking about Christopher Guest because your work. I mean, come on. I mean, when I was a kid growing up in San Diego doing live community theater, I always thought that experience of me and my sister did all this community theater growing up, and
You don't have to explain.
well, I didn't know that other people were experiencing the same things that we were experiencing until I saw that movie, and that was the movie where you're like, oh my God, Waiting for Guffman. You see that movie, you're like, oh my God, it's like this everywhere. This is what
Any showbiz folk love that movie. You just have to, you know.
And it was a wonderful experience to do that, the movie. And it's one of those movies you do when you think, we did it in Austin, Texas, and you assume nobody's ever going to see it. So we just had fun. I was working with some of my heroes, Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara.
Did you know Catherine O'Hara before?
I didn't know. I knew most of the Second City people. I've known them from way back in Toronto City, because I spent a year at Second City in Chicago. Sure. And so when I'd go to Toronto, the director said, "Do you want to see the show we're doing?" I said, "Sure." And there was Eugene and Catherine O'Hara, Martin Short, John Candy. No one knew who they were. And next thing I knew, they were on SCTV, and nobody was watching it the first season. But we watched it and became friendly with them, and just big fans ever since. I was so thrilled. I really pushed my way into doing a couple of episodes of SCTV.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I met John Flaherty at Joe Flaherty at the supermarket. I said, "Joe, I love that show. You got to get me on the show." And he said, "Oh, all right." So
That's a really good Joe Flaherty.
what was it? Yeah.
Count Floyd, for those of you who don't
Count Floyd,
recall.
yes.
Yeah. Of those movies of Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, For Your Consideration, which is the one that is nearest and dearest to you?
Well, they all had something I loved about. The one that did me most good was Best in Show. Because I think it was because about everyone has dogs or loves dogs. I've talked to more people who not only have dogs, they put them in shows, and that did me the most good. But I just had wonderful feelings about all of them, and I always say, thank God for Christopher Guest. He started that whole thing of, now a lot of shows are done the way his movies are, just improvise and cut it down. Here's the scene, here's what happens. It wasn't just go crazy. Right. We knew what we had to do to move the movie along. And believe me, if it didn't move the movie along, your scene was on the cutting room floor. Because we'd shoot 30 hours of stuff, and the movie was cut down to 85 minutes, so everyone would walk out the screen, what happened to my scene? But he was, he did, we did 4 of them, and then he did a couple of TV specials.
Where did you meet Christopher Guest? Where did you?
I think years ago, I was in an off-Broadway show in New York called Little Murders. Christopher Guest was in the second company that was ready to take over when the first company left. And he was just a youngster, and his mother was a very important casting woman with CBS, so I knew kind of who he was. But the next thing I knew, I think he used me in a pilot he did for something, and I made him laugh, I made some jokes. And the next thing I knew, he called me and he said, we're doing this movie down in Austin, Texas. We may call it Waiting for Guffman. And we may use Catherine O'Hara if she answers us, but we'd like to have you in. So that's how it started. And luckily, he called me for everything he's done since then.
Amazing, unbelievable. We got to open it up for Q&A. Brent Weinbach,
All right,
let's take some questions.
I'm out here in the back. Anybody have any questions
Got
back
questions
here?
for Fred Willard.
I actually have a quick question. Actually, what happened to Greco? 21 Jump Street?
He what?
And 21 Jump Street?
No, that's a joke. But what did happen to Greco?
He passed away about 2 years ago, but he was, we worked together for several years, and then we broke up, and then we got back together. With comedy duos. After that, I got into a group called the Ace Trucking Company. There were 5 people, and it's a whole different thing when you're just working with one person, shows don't go right. Well, whose fault was it? When you're working with 5 people, it didn't matter if the show went, and there was no one for the second show, great, let's go out for dinner. It didn't bother us at all. It was like someone referred to us as a moving cartoon. So that was fun. But he passed away, unfortunately. But he was a very funny man, very talented.
Happy now, Brett?
Yeah. What was his first name again?
What was his first name?
Greco?
Well, he worked on the name Vic Greco. His real name was Gus Masserino. He had to say
Masserino and Willard would have been a bit much for
maybe a little bit.
It would be like
Ace
Bill-
Trucking Company, by the way, is painted. That name is painted on the front of the comedy store. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
great.
let's get a question. Who's got a question for
All
Fred
right, we got a
Willard?
question right here.
On a personal note, I don't think a week goes by where I don't say, I don't think so, or I can't do my work. So thank you for those amazing quotes. I was curious more on Roseanne. How did you end up being one of the first gay couples that were ever
Roseanne had Martin Mull as her boss. I think that was it. And he was supposed to be gay. And I saw Roseanne and her then husband, I don't know, it was Tom Arnold or some other, I said, wouldn't it be funny if, since Martin was my boss on Fernwood Tonight, if I came on the show as his boss? They said, oh, we'd love to have you, yes. So about a month or so later, they called, they said, we have a wonderful idea, why don't you come on as his gay boyfriend? And I said, well, that's kind of awkward. I said, no, I don't think so. So about a month later, they called. They said, we have a wonderful idea that the 2 of you get married and adopt a baby. And I said, I'm in. Let's do it.
It was kind of like
the
an all or
first
nothing
gay
kind of-
marriage on TV.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Who else has a question for Fred?
Any other questions?
We can take. I think we can take 1 or 2 more, and then we're out. What else
We got one all the way
there.
there.
We go
All right.
over there.
and
Make
don't
my
ask
way-
if
Come
I'm.
on, Brent.
Make my way
Run.
over,
You got this,
sorry about that.
Brent.
Your career depends on it, Brett.
I'm,
Brent.
Brent, not Brett.
he
My
said,
favorite
who's your favorite comedian of all
time?
time, personally?
That would have to be divided, depending on who made me laugh the hardest. I've never laughed harder than at Don Rickles, if you ever see him live. About the first 10 or 15 minutes of his act, you're just doubled over with. Rodney Dangerfield, of course, is the only comic I know where people get together, other comics, and just exchange Rodney Dangerfield lines. And the third, I forget a friend of mine who never made it too big, but he used to make me laugh. I didn't come that well prepared. I didn't think they'd ask me that question. But then a lot of people who don't make you laugh that much can still be your favorite comedian. Jerry Seinfeld, I'll watch him and say, my God, this is brilliant. Mort Saul. Who's the new guy?
There was a Rodney Dangerfield Young Comedian special that was taped in this room, right? That you were in, not as one of the young comedians, but you were in the audience, and he points you out. Oh, look, we have a special guest in the audience, Fred Willard.
Oh,
is that
my
right?
God.
Wasn't that
I
taped in
was
this room?
on one of his specials because he called me at home. He said, hey, Fred, Sam Kinison was supposed to be on my show. That bastard got high. I don't know why these guys can't. Why the hell can't these guys have their drugs? You seem like a good guy. I want you to be on the show. So just that day, I went down. I replaced Sam Kinison.
Right.
He was another one of my favorite comics. I mean, he was so brilliant. Just amazing.
Now, Fred, one last thing I have to ask about. You were nominated for an Emmy for The Bold and the Beautiful.
A daytime Emmy nominated.
Not a show that I would expect
I
you.
won an
you won
Emmy
the
for The Bold and the Beautiful.
Won the Emmy.
So how did that come to be? You on a soap opera? You don't seem like somebody I would see on a soap opera.
I know, and I thought, well, no one's going to ever see this, and I can't tell you how many people come and say, I just saw you on The Bold and the Beautiful. I said, oh, you're wonderful, thank you. Yeah, it was an adventure being on a soap opera, because it's different than being on a sitcom. You come in, and you do your scene, and you do it once, and maybe they'll say, okay, let's go back and take it from this line. Right, we got it, let's move on. And move on, I spent a week memorizing these lines. But you have to come very prepared. They're wonderful actors. They're all more than attractive. So I think Since I started out, I always had an ambition to be on a soap opera because it's like doing a live one-act play. They used to do them live. In fact, when I started out, I was an extra in a couple of daytime soaps. Wow. Remember, I was behind the bar. But it's really, if you're an actor, or you know an actor, tell them if they can get on a soap opera. It just as an incidental character, it's really great.
Well, Fred, it is such. Oh yeah, one here.
Yes.
I just want to first say that I still love your work in Harold Kumar White Castle. That opening scene where you're in there with Calvin, that Ethan Wilshire.
Yes.
Harold and Kumar in White Castle. So,
Yes.
yes.
Your reaction was just priceless. But I want to ask you that you have a tremendous resume. Out of all your work, what is the one project that you're most proud of?
So for people listening at home, he wants to know what the one project you're most proud of is.
Yeah.
Most proud of. Well, I was just thinking, one of the pieces I did that I loved the most was an old Laverne and Shirley. I played a guy, my partner and I came to town. We wanted to pretend we wanted to date Laverne and Shirley, but we actually wanted to get access to the bank next door to their home. And I watched that and I said, my God, I was good in that. I wasn't dyeing my hair. I watched it recently. I said, Jim Burrows was the director. You know, the great Jim Burrows.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he directed that. He later directed me in Back to You with Kelsey Grammer.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a ridiculous honor to have you on the show.
It absolutely is. I want to say something.
Oh, please,
One of
go ahead.
my favorite toasts ever put in a film anywhere was your toast at the end of Roxanne. Do you recall it?
Yes, I'd rather be with you people than the greatest people in the world. I didn't make that up. I think that was actually Rob Reiner's mother or something. Actually said that. And people in the business remembered and they gave me that line to say. Yeah, that's a very memorable line.
I love that. That's so incredible. Well, thank you so much, Fred, for coming to do the show.
Thanks for having me here, Steve.
Fred